From girl to maiden, the ones you see, then woman, the one whose loins brings life, she who was born to give forth, beyond the fruitfulness of her body, with hands blessed to make blossoms. She works, she toils, and she lives. Yet on the sands of time, man-made winds threaten her footprints.
DRASA is Dr. Ameo Stella Adadevo. It's a public health NGO, and the work that we do is all around protecting public health by reducing the spread of infections. We look at how do we keep people healthy and safe, how do we prevent illness and infectious diseases, so things like COVID-19, Ebola, Lassa fever, monkeypox, meningitis, all the things that we have here in Nigeria that kill people every year. So Dr. Adadevo was definitely a very unique individual, somebody that lived her life in a very selfless way, even before Ebola. That's just who she was. So it was no surprise to those of us that knew her when this thing happened. Many of the heroines that we celebrate that revolve around being selfless, being patriotic, and really trying to put others before yourself, trying to work towards a greater good. A woman can impact at the community level, she can impact at the family level, she can impact in her own little sphere of influence, and I think that that's equally important. Though we will still fight for representation at the higher levels, I also think that a bottom-up approach is appropriate and has a lot of power and impact as well.
She is stifled from success, taking off the race before the whistle blows, given seats only in places where cuddling and cradling exists, or on pedestals below her capacity, allowed to stand in silence only when it matters, never an opportunity to stand out, her overflowing wisdom collected in baskets and left in the wind to dry out with no use. Once she dares, she gets a title, but none like a hero. How did CCA come about?
My sister, by the time, especially with the Center for Contemporary Arts, Bisi was a woman with what you would call incredible, fierce intelligence. For her, one of the reasons of setting up the CCA was the fact that, like I earlier said, there was just no place. We had a lot of art galleries, but you know, my sister kept on talking about, I don't see any installation art, you know, but she kind of believed that there was space for it, for that kind of art in Nigeria. There was space for that kind of expression. There was, not only was there space, there was also a need. People don't understand the necessity for the performing arts. And the thing is that when your performing arts thrives, your humanity thrives as well. Because that's what the arts do. That's what the arts do. They humanize us. They help us to articulate a lot of things that we cannot articulate. We just know that these things are happening to us. But being able to articulate also helps us to strategize, probably, as to how to move forward. I think some of the real conquistadors in the creative industries in Nigeria are women. Nike Okudai of Nike Arts Gallery incredible woman. You know, she runs a school, not only in Lagos, around the country. You know, she has spaces, you know, outside of the country as well. She's internationally acknowledged, you know, for her work. I mentioned Mrs. Simi Adesoya of My Dream Gallery, also doing incredible work, you know, so that's in the visual art space. And then the woman who passed away recently from, you know, Quintessence. And then you have, in my own space, you have Moabudu, you know, taking huge strides, you know. Even way before Mo, we had people like Lola Fani Kayode, who, you know, who is no longer in Nigeria, but you had Amaka Igwe, late Amaka Igwe. They are now beginning to redo some of her works. There's Ifoma Fafowa, her performance art of Hear Word has been, I think, the most performed piece of performance art in Nigeria, and it has gone to 3 continents. It's been to several spaces in Africa, it's been to several spaces in Europe, it's been to several spaces in America. So, you know, so in the creative space, women are owning, they are taking territory. And one of the oldest, I would say, award ceremonies is run by Peace Ayam Osigwe, you know. So, yeah, we're good in that space.
She is the answer her king prayed for, the yearnings of our forefathers, of women pace-setters and pioneers brought to life. She is here, and she lives amongst us, sashaying and slaying boundaries, with her head up in the sky. The limits she once had, she proves her capabilities of welcoming an era of exalted womanhood.
I founded and I'm currently running an initiative that supports women mentally during and after pregnancy. It's called Earth Child Care Maternal Center. We live in a society where people don't recognize the importance of mental health. And no matter how much we talk about it, there's still stigma attached to people who come out and say, oh, I have a mental disorder, I've been struggling with so and so. So it's been very difficult for me to, you know, identify these people. So what I did was I started talking about it, I started creating awareness. If you have a mental health care problem during pregnancy, you're just creating a problem for the society much later. So you should be able to be in a good mental health state to be able to give back to your baby.
What do you think is the cause of this exclusion, you know, for women in policy making, state of government in Lagos, in Nigeria as a whole?
It is from our society, how our parents raised us, how our female folks raised, what is said into their mind, how do they perceive themselves. I think it's just recently that most women folks have stood up and decided that, hey, I can work for myself, I can be independent, I can, you know, give back to the society. But growing up, we're told, hey, when you're done with school, get married and give birth to babies and take care of your home. So the society has formed something at the back of a woman's mind that makes the woman forget about the place of leadership, the place of relevance. I'm not saying that you can't be relevant even at home, but I feel like women have more capacity, have the inherent ability to be leaders because they have those characteristics. But the society has formed that in the mind, the back mind of every woman out there, whether you like it or not. Some who have come out of it had to intentionally bring themselves out of it. So I would not say that the policies that are in place are not favoring women. I, for one, always believe that if you ever want anything, you can get it. I keep saying it. You won't do anything, but in a space where you have to push so hard so that you can stand up and get it done. keep the right circle, talk with whoever you feel like, hey, you feel like, oh, you want to talk with. Tell everybody that this is what you want to do. I don't believe that as a woman you should be restricted to a particular platform to function in the society. If you see a problem in the society, that the society has created a kind of masculinity to that kind of problem, and you feel like, oh, that particular problem that you're trying to solve is dominated by the male folk, I don't think that you should ever stop trying to, solve that problem just because you feel like it's dominated by a man.
At the table, she creates her place. None like her is present, nor is one like her there. Who will tell tales of her conquest when the battlefield is in her? Turn from left and right, it never makes it to her turn. Yesterday, today, and maybe tomorrow, she fights for her name in history.
I've been in this community now almost 40-something years. And when I came into this community, it's like a jungle. Oh, many things took place here then, like car thefts, because my place here is a corner piece and there was a hideout for hoodlums to keep their stolen goods. And this issue of rape was really rampant. Each time you hear people shouting, most especially the girls, they rape them. So I went into, I single-handedly invited some security men, like the Nigerian police. So they allocated some policemen in this area. There was an incident where I was sitting outside with a friend of mine. Two girls ran out from a building very close to my place, held onto my clothes and was shouting that they invited them for a party and boys ganged up and picked them one by one and started raping them. So I took it upon myself. I set up an NGO to invite some young boys, sort of counseling, group meetings like that. And those who are not schooling are looking for money to trade. So I set up a microfinance group. I teach them how to do adire, beading, otapiapia and other things. So I just thought if you teach them how to fish and keep them busy, their eyes will be off of this criminal acts. I now discovered that this criminal acts, reduced a lot. Everyone is thinking of how to fend for herself. And more so, the women need to be empowered and given equal opportunity like the men, not looking down on them as a weaker sex and people not to be heard of. If they can empower the women, those who are learning, give them opportunity to serve as the men, they will be encouraged. And those who are not learning, at least you give them an opportunity, free access to petty loans to set up their own private business. God is the rewarder of they that does good things and is interested in you having impact in your generation.
الله أكبر الله.
She emerges with the quintessence of a queen, shaking the foundation to announce her presence, not with words, but her works. She needs no introduction. You see her everywhere, although a handful. But now, she aims for the throne and the crown, for her and generations unborn, for those like her and from her, to be heirs of the excellence she embodies. Today and years to come, she wants you to remember her, to celebrate and be like her. She seeks to walk about in street corners and hallways, banks, market squares, offices, hospitals, as head, leader, pace setter, and team member, in the hearts of the young and praises of the old. For she existed, that she may never exit the sands of time.